Like my least favorite dinosaur is easily a pterodactyl.
He's green, busted green. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another edition of Analytically Correct. We're here at Public House on University, Shamrock Liquors. Rob here, Stretch, Torrin and Billy are here too. They were tailgating before the podcast, BS boys. We're going to do an entirely fantasy football focused, oh no, I shouldn't say that. We're going to do an entire show focused on fantasy football today. It's not fantasy focused football. It's not the Danasty podcast. This is
Danasty podcast.
Analytically Correct's version of a fantasy football podcast. We're going to start off, I think, just talking generally about fantasy football, and then we're going to do, once we get everything streaming here, something a little bit different. Hopefully it'll be cool. We can see everything on the screen. Rob and I are going to do mock drafts with Fantasy Pros website, and we're going to kind of talk through it, where we're picking, kind of how we feel about who's available, and like just draft philosophies and strategies, that whole kind of thing. Hopefully it'll be good. We kind of just, we have no idea how it's going to go.
Well, you know, we're going to, just like anything else, we're going to bust it out and see how it goes at the end of the day.
Same thing as every week. You just whip it out, and then hopefully everything goes well from there. So, I mean, just starting as we get everything connected and streaming here, starting with fantasy, I think one of the big questions, not to get into players, but just overall philosophies, I think one of the big questions is, like, are you a PPR guy or a non-PPR guy? That's one thing to me. There's different leagues. 10, 12, 16-team leagues, different formats and all that kind of stuff. But I think one of the things people are divided on is like PPR, non-PPR.
Yeah.
I don't know. Where do you fall on that whole?
I honestly love playing the PPR leagues just because it's more of a, okay, who's touching the ball, when they're touching the ball, and it also gives you a whole just mindset of when the season goes on of who's getting used the most in whatever system they're getting used in. You know what I mean? Because you have the name such as Sammy Watkins, and everyone loves that name. They'll talk about the name. But in all reality, it's really, and I'm not saying fantasy creates your value as a player, because I'm not jumping on that train. But I will say, if you're playing PPR, you do learn, for people who don't, like, obviously follow football on a consistent basis, I would tell them to play PPR just due to the fact that you get to see who's used in what team and who gets used the most and what player is seeing receptions, who's playing more in the backfield, and you learn more about players as they go on as well, which running backs are dual threats and here and there, and what the role is versus standard. You're looking at who's scoring. You're looking at who's the leading scorer, whether it's receptions and touchdowns. You're just looking for people who are going to score. I play PPR more of, not by really just choice, it's just because most of the leagues I play in they are PPR. Guys want to play PPR, so I just jump on. It's not really I'll play either or, but it just turns out the two leagues I'm in currently right now are both PPR.
Right, yeah. I that's actually a really good argument for it, one that I hadn't really considered before. My argument against it, and it's like we were talking about this earlier, I'm not going to not play in a league just because it's PPR.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be like, oh, it's not PPR, like I'm not doing that. If it's PPR, it's fine, whatever. You just adapt the draft to those rules and everything. My whole argument against it is, it's points per reception. So if you catch a pass for -5 yards and you lose your team 5 yards, you still get half a point.
Yeah.
Whereas if you run the ball for 5 positive yards, you get the same value of points. One of them ends a drive and the other one gets a first down.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of in that sense. And then, I mean, somewhere in the middle can be like everyone's playing by the same rules. It's not like someone gets PPR points and you don't. So I'm just against it in the sense of like actual football value, like what you're doing for your team. At the end of the day, like I said, I'm not going to not be in a league just because of that.
Exactly. Yeah.
People are kind of on the opposite spectrums. Like I hate PPR, I love PPR. I'm just against it for the whole value thing. But we're gonna try to get this thing. We gotta wait for Stretch to come back real quick.
Little brewski. Actually, so now before we jump right into it, who's your big sleeper? Like, who is, if you were to look into it, who's your guy that you look in the past the 10th round that you potentially see as a guy you really want to have on your team?
Past the 10th round, so if we're talking I think we're going to talk, I mean, like I said, everyone does different leagues, but as far as like for the purpose of this podcast, we're going to do what the majority of people do, which I think is like 10 teams, standard scoring, or PPR or whatever. PPR actually is the standard now, which has been switched over. So we're talking 10 teams, so if you're talking somebody like after the 100th pick, I would look at a guy, I guess, like Darwin Thompson. So Damian Williams is supposed to be like the starting running back for the Chiefs, and then you have Carlos Hyde on the team as well. But I think Darwin Thompson, they've been talking him up on the Chiefs as a guy who might possibly wind up with the starting role. Like Damian Williams is more of a small type receiving back.
Yeah.
He's never had more than 50 carries, I think, in a season. So like he did really well last year, but also he's in the Chiefs offense. So
Exactly.
everyone's going to do well.
There's
in the Chiefs
volume in that
offense.
offense.
Yeah, that offense. There's offenses where like they're fantasy irrelevant, like maybe like the Dolphins or the Bills, other than like maybe Josh Allen. But then you have teams like the Chiefs who can support like 5 different fantasy players, the Rams, teams like that. So I mean, just off the top of my head, I would go maybe somebody like that. Not as late, but James White, especially if we're talking PPR, he's not going past the 10th round or anything like that. Did you have like a sleeper in mind?
I had a sleep. My sleeper's always been kind of like the two receivers we've talked about, as the two like that I've talked about a lot the past couple weeks. Be James Washington and Michael Gallup.
To get into like what you would define as a sleeper, because nowadays everybody has like everyone listens to the same stuff. If you're serious about fantasy, everyone listens to the same stuff, reads the same stuff. So a sleeper is more. Not that nobody's heard of them.
Yes,
it's like
just,
you like them more than other people like them.
Like last year, my guy was George Kittle.
Okay,
and
well,
Kittle was one.
If that was your sleeper before the season, you did pretty well.
As well as Kenny Galladay. Both because Galladay's rookie year showed a lot of promise. And I think my thing is when I look at sleepers, I always look at, like I said earlier, I look at second-year guys that kind of get lost and not being the standout rookies like Michael Gallup and James Washington, both who work with offenses that now that AB's gone, there's more throwing option for James. Dak's got Michael for another year. He's got Amari, so he's not going to be, always considered. There's going to be more open opportunity for these two guys down the road as receivers, and also because when I play fantasy football, I do a lot more with running backs and drafting, and I look for later value with my receivers. Just due to the fact that you can find receivers that can get 8 targets in a game in the 9th round. You can find stuff like that. Versus, it's tough to find those very good running backs. Within a top 25 running back, you spend almost your first 3 rounds on those guys.
Yeah, I think if we're talking about that as well, like in the theme of second-year guys who could break out, Darius Geis. I mean, it's gonna wind up being injury dependent. But people forget he was drafted as the second running back after Saquon Barkley, and if he would have stayed healthy, I mean, he would have been going into this year as like a first or second round running back. He's going
learning behind Adrian Peterson's a hell of a guy to learn from too.
Yeah, as much as you can learn as a running back, but I have here some of the
and preparation-wise, like
he's going around 77th in the 70 range, so he's going like middle of the 8th
and
round.
AP did have a torn ACL as well at one point.
You don't want to learn that from him.
Well, it's just you got to learn how he's going to learn how to. Hopefully he's learning how to come back, prepare, and be ready to play. Not that's what I would hope he would be learning from that whole situation, being able to be with arguably one of this generation's greatest running backs when it comes to.
Yeah, nobody's going to be Adrian Peterson in that season that he came back after the ACL injury. But I mean, you can hope if he can do something similar to that. Like that team doesn't really have too many offensive weapons.
No, they don't. Like when you look at the receivers, that's always kind of got to annoy people killing Kirk Cousins for years. So it's like there's a point where Kirk's best receiver in Washington was an Ohio State quarterback. It's like they don't really have a lot to work with. Jamison Crowder. You have your who's the kid with the foot issue has it every year? Doxton.
He was really good too. I used to love him.
And it's just guys like that they don't have a lot to work with. So you can look at guys and maybe guys down the road we can see how it's not like right out of the way, but maybe week 4 or 5 he starts picking up more momentum and starts playing further into the system.
So as far as like sleepers and everything like that go, I think we can get into that as we start doing the mock draft and everything. Do you want to do? I don't know if it's showing up on the screen there, Stretch. Are you still working on? Okay. Oh, you just didn't pull it up yet.
So with this one, just go to.
I don't see it on. Okay. All right. So what we're gonna do is
make sure you. The only thing I will say is on the roster positions, change the receiver to 2 and the running back / receiver to 1.
To flex, right?
So you have a flex in there. And also, we're doing PPR, right?
Yeah, is that automatic on there?
It was on mine. I don't know if it is on everyone else's. Let's see what's up. We'll go to the positions.
We're switching running backs and wide receivers both to 2. So instead of having 3 starting wideouts, you're going to have a flex. So wide receiver, running back, tight end is going to be switched to 1. What we're basically going to do is a mock draft like live as we go. and I'm gonna pick 6.
We changed the score in a PPR if it isn't.
Do you need to change it or?
Oh, mine didn't. I don't know if his is or not. Oh, okay. I don't know if his came off that way or not.
10-team draft, 7th position.
7th? Okay, I got 8th.
He's gonna do, so what we're gonna do is Stretch is gonna be 7, which is gonna be in the middle. I'm gonna do 6, and the logic behind that is everyone thinks that the top 4 picks are pretty much gonna be in whatever order, and we'll talk about that in a second. Is Kamara, Christian McCaffrey, Zeke Elliott, and Saquon. So if you get stuck with the 5th or 6th pick, we're gonna try to see like where you go from there. At what point do you have to take one of the receivers instead of running backs? Rob actually is in a 10-team league, so he's going to do 8th because he got 8th in that. And Stretch is going to do 7, so we're somewhere in the middle. 7 is what you're going to see where Stretch is drafting. And we're going to, okay, yeah, perfect.
Sweet.
Yep, I see it. That's cool. Now I look smaller, so that's good. That's always a plus. So we're going to start doing the simulations now. So go ahead and start yours and just hit start the draft. Just bear with us. We've never done this before, so hopefully it works out and everything's good.
All right, so
I think the thing to start with, since I'm doing 6, he's doing 7, you're doing 8.
we'll go with you.
Well, we can start with like the top 4 picks.
Okay.
So out of those guys, Kamara, McCaffrey, Saquon, and Zeke. Obviously, I said earlier, if I'm in any league where all those guys are available and you have the first overall pick, none of those guys, do you agree that if any of those guys went first, you can't really make fun of that? It's not really a surprise.
No. That's when I went McCaffrey last year in the first round and 9th overall pick. A lot of people thought it was a stretch, but I think people realize now that McCaffrey is the only big option in that Carolina offense.
Yeah.
And the fact that I do believe he will be a 1,000 guy this year with 1,000 receiving, 1,000 rushing. Bless you.
Bless you.
And I think that he's going to take that next step. I mean, we saw he put on some more weight coming into camp. He's ready to start taking more of a load running between the tackles. Cam and him, I think, is arguably the best read option in all of football right now.
Yeah, there. If you scroll up a little bit more, you'll see like on the left is going to be like the draft log. So they have on yours Barkley first. But yeah, like you're saying, like McCaffrey, Barkley, any of those guys, they're going to get the volume and they're all going to be awesome. Like the one I haven't seen really going first that much is Kamara, which is kind of weird to me because, I mean, anyone would be lucky to have that as like your number 1 running back, but it's kind of like he's just, it's almost like droning excellence. Like he's always been so awesome that it's not as interesting to take Kamara first.
I think my reasoning behind why I wouldn't go Kamara first is because there is a valuable option to throw to still on that team.
Other guys.
Yes, there's other people on the team. Whether it's Michael Thomas, they just added Jared Cook, which I think is a phenomenal tight end add for them. He's a great receiving tight end with a quarterback who likes to throw to tight ends as well.
You could almost say, though, that having that option is going to be like he's going to be one of the guys who you're not able to stack the box against.
Yes, exactly.
Him.
It's just
so it goes both ways. It's just whatever.
And I think the thing that stops me from going him is if I had the first pick, I'm going to Zeke Elliott, and beyond bias just has to do the fact that and it's just every year it's been Zeke for me, and I would still go him now, even with the holdouts and blah blah blah, because I still believe yes he will play, yes he'll be in there, but when this year.
Oh well, we're just talking about like the top couple picks first. So I have
my
here.
first on wait, since you went 6, who are your?
I have 6. So I have they have Saquon, C.J. McCaffrey, Kamara, Elliott. Hopkins went 5th, which to me is kind of high. I mean, Melvin Gordon went 9. That's higher than I've seen him going.
That's very high. I haven't seen Melvin going anywhere near that, to be honest.
As far as draft strategies, like after we get into this, I'm gonna say 6 is kind of early for Gurley. Hey, I rhymed. I'm gonna take him anyways. I'm gonna take Todd Gurley. It's not as late as I would hope to take him. Like I would kind of hope that he would, if I had like the 8th or 9th pick.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like he was so good that if
he's got 30 rushing touchdowns in 2 years.
Yeah, if he's even like everyone was like putting a lot of stock into what happened at the end of last year. And I know it happened in the Super Bowl and it happened in the playoffs, so that puts more of a microscope on it. He's still awesome, and if I lose my season because of his knees,
when you play 14, 15 weeks, you're gonna have a lot of wear and tear on your body.
Yeah.
So I think coming into the year, like obviously, because when it comes to fantasy, I've explained to you, I'm a big person. I like to trade a lot in fantasy football, because with the because I have the 8th overall pick, and my first pick, if I have the 8th pick, it's going to be Todd Gurley. Not only because I do believe there is a future with him, but also because if by week 4 or 5 I see something else that I like in a trade, I know a name like Todd Gurley will get me a package that I want. So, like, if Stretch, who's you end up picking with?
At the 7th spot right now,
Yes.
I think it's like 8.
Oh shit! I'm actually gonna have to amend that because I accidentally had my shit set to the 10th pick. So I can actually restart it real quick.
Yeah, just hit start over.
Yeah, my bad.
You're good.
Well, actually, so if Gurley is there at 10, then definitely take him. But I'm gonna reset mine for 6 because the point was.
I think I agree with you guys. I'd go early at 7.
Yeah.
Just because, like we said, where you see him at, it's just more of it's the risk reward, yeah, but there's also the great chance his reward's higher than the risk, I believe. Because I do believe as you go down the line, when you start looking at running backs further into the draft, the James Whites, the David Montgomerys, the Kerryon Johnsons, or even the when you start looking down there later in the draft and you start looking at guys such as Marlon Mack, you will find guys with quality in the third, potentially fourth round of guys who are still hanging around there. I think Todd Gurley is a guy that you would still take the risk for because people will still trade for him. It's still Todd Gurley. People still will believe, and the Rams' offense is still a loaded offense with a lot going around on it.
All right, so I'm gonna have to actually change because the point was for me to do the 6th pick, and it was at what point, like what running backs that are left, do you have to take a running back instead of DeAndre Hopkins? To me, Nick Chubb, I think, is gonna have an awesome season. So if it was between Chubb and Gurley, and then I still at 6, I still have James Conner, Le'Veon Bell, all these guys on the board. I think Nick Chubb is gonna have an awesome season. I think he has a chance to lead the league in rushing. So I'm gonna take Nick Chubb.
I like that.
As far as overall draft strategy, who did you end up taking at 7? Yeah,
I went with Gurley.
I mean, how early is too early for Todd
His
Gurley?
ADP says
Sound like
14.
Dr. Seuss right there.
His ADP says 14, but I don't believe
14?
in ADP. Yeah,
That's
I had him ranked
crazy.
at number 11 in running backs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I think too early to take him is like ahead of guys like Nick Chubb.
Yeah, like if you take him if you take him before any of those top 5 running backs are taken, maybe outside of David Johnson, I would pick him above David Johnson, to be honest with you. So obviously I would have him as my 5th ranked running back
Right.
overall, with it being Zeke, Saquon, Christian, Kamara, then Gurley. I don't look at David as better than Gurley just because the offensive line is horrendous, young quarterback, new offense. How is this mess going to look? We saw how a new mess looked last year with David Johnson when he had a new quarterback, a new offense, and a new system. He wasn't even getting the ball thrown to for like 5 weeks. I mean, it just came to a point to where like he was literally just a strict rushing running back.
I'm pretty high on David Johnson.
I've never really been high on
I
David
think I might
Johnson.
take him ahead of Gurley if I had like Stretch's option there at 7. I think I might. I think Hopkins on the one that we have on the screen here. I think 6 is a little bit high for that when you still have guys like Le'Veon Bell, David Johnson, and Todd Gurley. It gets into draft strategy.
Yeah.
I think talking before the podcast, you and I are in the same boat. And I think a lot of people are on this boat. It's pretty much like you take running back in the 1st and 2nd, and then for me, in the 3rd round, you take the best available running back or wide receiver,
Yes.
and then you fill out what you have left for your bench for running backs and receivers.
It's usually not to the and maybe 8th round. It won't be until the 8th, 9th, 10th round I start looking, okay, quarterbacks, tight ends, because you want to fill up depth. Is what I always tell people. Try
Yeah.
to get as much depth as you can get, because if you have 3 solid receivers, 3 solid running backs, and you can just consistently move through. My strategy is different through the year. A lot of people don't trade like I do in all the leagues I play in. A lot of people do. I get the name for trading. I get a lot of my ability from being able to trade because it's kind of like a hot market at the time. Every season is a different season. I like to play the Danny Ainge effect, where I want to screw you over in any trade I possibly can because I feel like I'm going to be smarter down the road about it,
Right.
And it's just you want to gain more out of it. I always tell people in a trade, anytime you trade with someone, your main goal to win is to win in that trade, not to break even, it's to win in that trade. It's a competition. It's a competition. My buy-in, where I'm picking 8th in a 10-man league, it's a $500 buy-in, winner take all.
I understand your point in trades, but you don't want to be that guy who it's like, you want to win eventually in the trade. But you don't want to be that guy where it's like, I'm only trading with you if I'm winning off the bat, guaranteed. Like,
No, I am that guy.
yeah,
I am that
I don't
guy.
like that guy.
I am that guy.
I want to trade where it's like, okay, we both seem like we're winning, but maybe one of us wins out in the end. I don't like to trade with people where it's like, you want to trade 1st round picks? I have the 5th pick, you have 8. I want your 3rd, 4th, and 5th pick. Like you.
Okay, that's but
That's an extreme example.
If he feels like he's winning, yes, it's more the feeling of if you feel like you're winning at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Let the person feel how the hell they want to feel. But if you really feel like you're winning, then and you've done your homework, make sure you're feeling good
Yeah.
about it. Like my pick right here at 8, I'm going with Todd Gurley. On the comeback around, they're showing who's available. Now, like I said, I like to go running backs.
Yep.
My best available running backs are Connor, Le'Veon, Chubb, Dalvin are typically the next three.
I would be happy with all those guys being either my first or second running back.
Exactly. So when I already have Todd Gurley, my big thing is what am I looking at next? I'm starting to look down the road at running backs further on. What do I like about these teams? What do I like about guys? The only reason why I'm not going on Le'Veon Bell is because I don't trust the Jets. I will be picking James Conner on the comeback, so my first two picks would be Todd Gurley and James Conner.
It seems like all of us, though, are in agreement that the negative publicity for Todd Gurley, none of us are buying into it.
Especially at that pick. That's why.
I mean, the only thing that has brought him down is from being one of the top 4 guys to being like
he went from being the number 1 pick last year to now being the 7th, 8th pick is what we're talking about. And I just don't feel like that. Like I said, he said 30 rushing touchdowns in 2 years. How are you going to just jump off the boat completely?
I think there is something behind the injury thing and all that kind of stuff, but at the same time, like, you have to, at some point, take the value. Like, you have to take the risk.
On the comeback, Stretch, who are you looking at on the comeback? I went with, because I got Todd and I picked James on the comeback for them.
So I took Chubb 6, Stretch took and his Gurley at 7, and you took at 8.
Yes.
Who'd you take at 8?
At 8, I took Gurley.
Okay, so we're all getting Gurley around the same point. As my pick, I have the 5th pick in the 2nd round. I have Gurley available. So there's a common theme in this first and second round. And this is all just like simulated stuff.
Yeah.
Like, we're not dealing with real people here. But if Gurley's there at that point, I'm taking him for sure. Like, I don't care who else is available. So somehow we're doing 3 different drafts and we all wound up with Todd Gurley, and I think we're all happy about it.
And oddly enough, Nick Chubb is available still in mine, so I'm taking Nick Chubb.
So me and
I had Chubb available in mine. I went Connors because the only reason why I didn't,
we're gonna all wind up with the same team.
The only reason why I didn't go Chubb is just because I fear that Chubb's going to get started into that. The Browns are going to get 2 because they've never been this good in a while. So the Browns are going to get really happy. They're going to get pass happy, and then they're going to get even more creative happy when Kareem Hunt comes back. I feel like for some reason Chubb is going to get pushed back at some point in that year to where his usage should be higher than what it really is.
You know, the thing you can say about Chubb too is in an offense like that, if you're expecting them to be ahead, you're going to get all those extra carries. That's like, if you're ahead most of the game, that's like 5 to 10 extra carries a game. That if you're behind, if you're not a pass-catching running back, you're just losing out on value right there.
But in defense, it is AFC North football, and AFC North in the about week 10 and so on, whenever you're playing up north, you need to run the ball. It's harder to throw the ball. Guys run the ball more. You get more physical as of later. Nick Chubb is a physical back. He is a guy who's going to run in between the tackles and get out those extra yards. I mean, he was seeing 25 carry games last year at the end in Cleveland. So I'm not against Chubb. I like Chubb as a guy. I just think James Conner would be more my consistent guy versus I would try to trade Todd Gurley over trying to trade Chubb, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Connor.
When I'm drafting, I'm not thinking about trades, so I guess we're different in that way.
I am, yeah.
I'm kind of hoping when I'm drafting that like any of the guys I'm picking are good enough that I don't want to trade them.
I always say there are 3 or 4 guys you're going to stick with all year, and then you got to start playing the who's hot game, who's playing well, and who's you got to. It's almost like
the buy sell game. Like
you want like a stock market. It's a buy and sell.
You want to sell when this guy's high. You were talking earlier about. We'll get into that later in the rounds with Kareem Hunt, in the sense that are you drafting him just to trade him to a team that's like 3 and 5, like you said? That'll be like way later on. So I have 6. So I'm up right now, right?
Yes.
So I have right now Gurley and Chubb. So I'm gonna look at on mine it should be similar to Stretches, but it's gonna be like the best available like running back or receiver, and I'm kind of hoping that that's gonna be my flex guy. And I think I'm looking at T.Y. Hilton, Keenan Allen, Kerryon Johnson, Damian Williams. I think the Lions are going to wind up running the ball a ton this year. And Theo Riddick's not there anymore. He was taking up a lot of the passing down.
Yes, he was.
So I think if I have Kerryon Johnson as my flex, I'm getting a guy who's going to be like a starting running back, and he also might be
catch 6 balls a game.
Might be a 3-down running back now. And trust me, I'm the opposite of a Lions homer. If I had no Lions on my team, I would be fine with that. I mean, I do like Marvin Jones and Kenny Golladay, but I'm not the kind of guy who I'm not the guy who picks people from my team, and I won't pick anyone from the Packers or the Bears or the Vikings.
Is that a subtle shot at me?
No, not a subtle shot. Like, it's just that my team sucks, so I'm a different kind of fan.
I understand.
You know? I mean, if this was like college fantasy, I would never pick an Ohio State
Oh, no,
player.
I can imagine you never doing
But
that.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers is one of my favorite players in the NFL, and it's just because the Lions are not a real rival. We suck so much that it doesn't matter, which is kind of a blessing in a way. So I'm going to take Kerryon with my third pick. So I'm going to have Kerryon Johnson, Todd Gurley, and Nick Chubb. So I'm feeling pretty good about that right now. So seventh would be Stretch, somewhere in the middle between us. And his picks are on the screen as well.
Stretch, what you feeling about your pick coming up here?
I'm going with Kittle.
Kittle, yeah. See, no, and I don't mind you going. I don't mind tight ends going. I don't draft tight ends that early, but if you're going to draft a tight end that early, it needs to be the premier tight ends, the Zach Ertz, the Kittles, or the Travis Kelce's.
It's one of those three guys. Otherwise, you should probably wait.
Because it's a
right?
third. It's basically another receiver for you at that point.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
when you have Ertz, when you have Kittle, because in Kittle's the best receiver on his team. Ertz is the best receiver on his team. Kelsey's the best receiver on his team. When we're talking about consistency, I understand people love Tyreek because they say they want. But when we're talking about consistency, Kelsey is going to see those consistent targets every single game.
And he's more of a red zone guy.
Yes.
Tyreek is more of like a home run guy.
Yes, that's where Tyreek's going to get you those points. But
Yeah,
when it comes to the
exactly.
consistency on where you're going to see these guys pick up the first downs on first and on second and six when you're going on
I'm
these
definitely
routes.
out on those mid-range tight ends as far as it goes. With like Evan Ingram is where I would draw the line. It's like I don't want to spend that high of a pick on a guy who's not the top three tight end.
But
Could he wind up having a good season? Sure, but it's not going to be on my team.
I got Kittle last year the 15th and Mahomes in the 16th, and it's just like of course you'll never get those two again this year. But as you do your homework, you start looking at tight ends and the work. You can find a lot of value in tight ends later. Hunter Henry's coming back from ACL injury. He'll be in there later in the draft. That's a guy to look at, especially if Melvin doesn't come back. They need to throw the ball around still a little bit more, and he'll see those red zone targets like you're talking about. With mine, we're starting to look at, because like I said, I love going running backs. The best running back available is Kerryon. You have Aaron Jones, Devontae Freeman. I'm really not big on this. I don't have a receiver right now. So when I look at receivers, I start looking at, okay, who's going to get the receptions that I want? Who's going to get the volume I like? On receivers, my best available are T.Y., Adam Thielen, Diggs, Cooper, and Edelman. I'm a big Thielen guy. Thielen's going to go out there, and Thielen's going to go out there and get a lot of receptions, get the targets, and he's moved to the slot role over there in Minnesota. I like Adam Thielen. He's my third pick with to pair along with Gurley and Connor.
Do you have? And we're gonna try to hit as we go along. Even people we don't pick, we're gonna try to talk about all the themes of fantasy football drafts, all like the different scenarios. Whether you agree with our philosophy, which we're kind of similar on, with running backs and receivers and building out your team before you take quarterbacks, tight ends, running backs. I think before I get to. Well, no, we'll do this first. The Thielen Diggs thing. You don't think having two good receivers on a team like that knocks either one of them down? Like, if you didn't have Diggs or Thielen on the same team, they'd be higher not being on the team.
The reason why I say no to that is because Diggs does get hurt. He does have an injury history. I know last year he was better about it, but years before he had a long injury history. Adam Thielen every year is just a volume target. He's just that guy you're going to throw to. The first 8 weeks last year, he was just the top receiver when it came to yards, and he was unstoppable. And it's not because he was doing anything crazy. It's not because
the lower left, our video, like to the. Okay, you got it.
And it's I don't think it's anything crazy in the fact that he's just like that premier receiver. It's just the volume that he gets and the way he can extend plays and his route running. Thielen's developed into that receiver, so I would rather, in fantasy football, PPR, I would go with Thielen just because, like I said, he's going to catch you 8-10 targets a game. He's more of a go-to guy, and Diggs is more of the touchdown guy, stretch the field guy. I like the I like the Edelmans. I like the Jarvis Landrys.
You want the consistency.
I want the consistent 10 targets. I like those guys.
And it's not even to say, like, consistency sometimes might seem like an insult because it's, like, the safer pick.
And what we're saying,
but Thielen can also do what Diggs does.
Exactly.
He could just do more.
Exactly, and that's why I look at Thielen in my third round to be I like Thielen a lot. I like it as a third-round pick, especially to be my number one receiver. I can look at my number one receiver, and this is the big argument that I said in the first 2 rounds where we start talking about why not Hopkins, why not Thomas, why not Julio, because
you can get Thielen in the third round.
Is a perfect example on that one. And when you look at the 4th round, I'm not trying to jump too far ahead. It is my turn on the comeback. I'm looking at guys, receivers. I'm looking at Amari Cooper right here. I'm looking at Diggs. I'm looking at Brandon Cooks, Julian Edelman, Robert Woods. Those are other receivers that I can still pair up with to be a solid receiving duo right there, even though I missed the first 2 rounds of receivers,
Before we get into the next pick, I wanted to talk about something that it goes against none of us three, as far as like what I can tell for our draft strategies, are going to wind up with Patrick Mahomes. And I've done some mock drafts. This simulator seems to think that Patrick Mahomes is going in the 1st round. And I mean, of course, he's an awesome player, but we're going to talk about this at length. Like, there's so many good quarterbacks.
exactly,
that
man.
Is he going to be that much better?
He went third round.
He went third? He went first in mine. He went 8th overall in mine.
He went third. He went third. In mine, he went third, first pick in the third round. Which I hate to say it, it's still too early for me for a quarterback.
On mine, he went first round, 8th pick.
See, and
he's going ahead of DeAndre Hopkins.
This simulator, if you guys ever do want to try it out, it's on Fantasy Pros. It's the Draft Wizard. It does a great job preparing because it does all the ADPs and average with ESPN, with Yahoo. It has all their ADPs and does plug it in. It's not like it's creating its own thing.
I think that's helpful, though, because if you do a couple of different ones, it's like the guys aren't going the same pick every time.
Exactly. You can kind of build around and see what you want to go with and see what works for you most at the end.
So for me, it's insane. Like, I'm not going to have Patrick Mahomes on my team if he's the 8th overall pick. But where did he go for you guys?
He went in the third round, first pick.
And who went, like, just after him?
Just after him was a Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, and Keenan Allen.
I would much rather have any of those three guys instead of Patrick Mahomes.
I'm with you because you're looking at Zach Ertz was over there. Even and I'm not a big Leonard Fournette guy. Never really was at LSU.
Right.
But I would
more
still
than
look
Patrick
at
Mahomes.
Yes, and it's nothing against Mahomes, but it's just the fact that I can find Matt Ryan in the 7th, 8th round if I really wanted to go that early on a quarterback. And the disparity between the first quarterback and the average quarterback, $65 million,
yeah,
35. Oh, that's great. Yeah, Jalen Smith.
The Jalen Smith deal we were talking about.
That's
just
a great
to
deal,
interrupt
actually.
real quick. It was Jalen Smith. The Cowboys signed him 5 years, $65 million, 35 guaranteed.
Great deal.
Not too bad. He could wind up being the best inside linebacker, and it's paid as like the third highest.
That's and you look at 2 more years into that contract.
Yeah.
He'll probably be out of the top 5 again paid once other linebackers start getting
every
paid.
new person to get paid is the highest person.
I like that deal for him. 35 guaranteed is nothing to freak out about. I like the fact that we went after Jalen Smith, signed him right away, and didn't let him test any market or get into these long negotiations about it.
And you were saying, not to get too far off track, but it was like breaking news, I guess. But you were saying that some Cowboys people, whether it was on Twitter or whatever you're looking at, are saying, why are you worrying about signing Jalen Smith? Well, what I said was it's probably the first domino to fall in the line of Dak and Zeke as well getting signed, and maybe even Cooper, because they're trying to find out what they can pay him and then what they're going to have left over after that. And I said the guy being left out is probably going to be Byron Jones.
Yes.
They're putting value on Smith. They're getting him signed.
It's harder to find a dominant linebacker than it is a dominant corner, I feel like, just because you can find corners to play a system versus you have a linebacker like Jalen. Because Jalen, if not for that knee injury, was a top 3 pick. I mean, he was coming out of that draft from Notre Dame and looking like a top guy. Fiesta Bowl, destroys his knee up, misses the first season, comes back the second year, looks shaky. Third year, he was a Pro Bowler last year. And we got him right before his contract ends. I love the signing. I think it was a great ad.
We'll get too far off track if we start arguing about should players play in bowl games. Are they quitting on their teams? They're not. But we'll
they're not. We agree.
We'll get into.
No, it's a quick one for both of us.
There we go. We're not.
There we go. We're good. Don't play the bowl game. If you're playing the Gator Bowl and you're a draft pick, don't worry about it. You don't even play in it.
Don't
Nobody
be Jake
cares.
Butt. You're.
I forgot. I'm on the come up here.
Never forget.
And I'm looking at running backs again.
Sorry, but at what point would you possibly draft Patrick Mahomes? Like, so if he's there in the 4th round, would you take him? I mean, I'm not taking him no matter what.
No, I'm not. I just won't draft a quarterback that early. I just will not do it.
I mean, he's going to have an awesome season. I said it earlier. It's just not going to be on my team.
Kirk Cousins, everyone hates him. He's a fantasy guy, though. He throws 32 touchdowns, 11 picks. You're going to get points off that. You throw 4,500. I mean, guys like him will get you points still. I don't need the best quarterback. I'd rather have a couple top 10 receivers and top 10 running backs and take my chance in finding those than find the number 1 quarterback in the 1st round. I can find the number 3 quarterback. I got Matt Ryan to pick up off waivers last year because people dropped off on him.
I'm going to be honest. I'm probably not drafting. I'm going to be the last one to draft a quarterback, and I'm just going to hope that I can pick one of the guys that's left that's going to wind up not being the worst out of all those quarterbacks.
Yeah, it's like, and when I'm looking at this.
If you're playing week to week, think about it. You're playing week to week. How often is your quarterback winning you the week?
He's not.
You're hoping that your just quarterbacks are breaking even.
He's just not. I mean, it's just like, that's the thing. He's not winning the week.
If you have Mahomes, you have a better chance that your quarterback wins you the week. But if he doesn't, you kind of, if Patrick Mahomes ever breaks even with say Jared Goff, if they wind up just breaking even, you had your 1st through 3rd round pick, and then instead I have Mike Evans and you have I don't even know who, but I just think you're better off taking the skill positions and hoping that your quarterback breaks even with somebody.
I mean, we're looking at, like I said, we're looking at all these guys that went after him. Like I said, I mean, between the Antonio Browns, the Zach Ertzes, the Fournettes, the Keenan Allens, the Mike Evans. I mean, there's a lot of guys. I mean, T.Y. Hilton, Kerryon Johnson, Adam Thielen. I found Thielen. I mean, I would still pick if I had the choice to pick him or Thielen or Mahomes in third round. I'm still picking Thielen. That's not stopping me from picking Thielen. Like, yeah, you're cool. Mahomes is there, but like, I'm not seeing myself ever having Mahomes again because I'm not willing to draft that high on a quarterback.
If you got him last year, you got lucky.
Yes.
Or whether you think it's luck or not, but you got a good value. This year, he's good, but the value's gone.
Yes, exactly. That's the thing. My next pick, I ended up going to Amari Cooper. I needed a receiver. The top receivers at that point were Cooks, Woods, Edelman, Amari. I like Amari in a prove-me year. He's trying to get paid. I want to see what he can do with that offense, see how it looks more of. We saw how he looked when he came to Dallas in the second half and how he did turn it on, turn it around.
Awesome, yeah.
I just think that he would be the guy to look at for have a consistent number 2 receiver. Between him and Thielen, I like that
You
duo
could even
right there.
argue which one's better, Thielen or Cooper. So you wind up right now with Todd Gurley, James Conner, Adam Thielen, and Amari Cooper. Like, you're not mad at that at all.
No, my first 4, I'm very, very happy with my first 4. And usually I always say the first 4 picks are the most important picks. As you go on through, you can now start finding your value and finding what you believe in because everyone's belief after the 5th round does change.
Yeah.
Some people start going more receiver heavy, running back heavy. Some people go quarterbacks all of a sudden. Hell, there are weirdos that get defense in the 7th round for some reason. I don't know. They do it, though.
So I guess Stretch would be next, coming back. So you picked Brandon Cooks, right? It's kind of the same argument as Thielen and Diggs. Like, does it give you any kind of pause that they have 2 receivers ranked so close to each other in Brandon Cooks and Robert Woods, right? They're ranked like right next to each other. Would it give you any kind of pause to pick either, like those guys are taken away from each other, or you're in the camp that the offense, like we said with the Chiefs, they can sustain so much offense that they're both going to be good?
I like Cooks' consistency, even when he's been in other offenses where they've been, like he was in New England, he was in New Orleans, and he still put up numbers. Last year with the Rams, he's putting up numbers. Like, Cooks just has been consistent for the past 3 or 4 years now to where I just feel like you can trust Cooks out of that receiving core. You know, I feel like if they're going to pick a receiver within that core, Cooks should be 1. I would put Kupp as 2 personally. Because it's not that I have a thing against Robert Woods. It's just I know that Kupp, when he was there, he was a huge target for Goff. Goff loved having Kupp around. And Kupp also helped the offense keep open and staying around.
Stretch, can you show who you have so far? I mean, and then Kupp as well. Like, the only thing about that with the Woods and Brandon Cooks thing, I'm not a huge Brandon Cooks fan just because I feel like he's like a one-skill kind of guy.
Yeah.
As far as stretching the field. And Robert Woods, I can take him or leave him or whatever. I mean, I know you're going to get the home run plays with Cooks, but I almost would rather, for the value of where Kupp is going, I don't really know if I have it at hand right now, but where Cooper Kupp is going, I think I would rather have him for the value than I would for either one of those 2 guys.
And that's the thing, like Kupp as a whole, I mean, I think another guy that we can look at down.
I have him here as 46, and this is like aggregate rankings. So Kupp's going like 46, which is like middle of the 5th round. I think I would rather have that. I mean, he's coming off of an injury, all that kind of stuff.
But he's had plenty of time to get better off it, not taken away from his injury. It's just, it's not like the injury was, you know, just last week or something. He's had now a full season. He's come back. His offseason, he's back in practice now with Gurley today. So he's obviously back in the movement of everything going on. So I'd like to see where if he can continue coming off of. Like I said, that offense needed him.
You'd rather see it before you pick him.
Yes. And I do believe that if you see him and, you know.
So we were talking about picking quarterbacks late, and Chase kind of said that it was a bad strategy. I wasn't saying I would pick him a quarterback last, like as my last pick.
That's not a bad strategy.
But he said I'd be stuck with Dak.
No, you wouldn't.
No, but even if I was
Even
if I was stuck with Dak, if you look at I have so many fucking notes here, but if you look at Dak, he has some of like the easiest matchups for like week 1 through 4. I had all written down all the easiest matchups for quarterbacks.
Well, the reason why that's also, I mean, it's just a horrible take too, just because the fact that like how late are you waiting for a quarterback? I said round 10.
I'm not doing it by round.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm just saying I'm going to be the last one probably to take.
You'll
a
get a
quarterback.
Kirk Cousins by week 12. I mean, by round 12.
Yeah.
Like, you won't be stuck with Dak. Like it's not
So my thing on quarterbacks is I'll be the last one to take one.
Yeah.
When I take mine is once I see people starting to take their second quarterbacks.
Yes.
That's when I'm going to take my first, because I don't want to be stuck with like.
It's just when you look at the quarterback pool and you start, if you're really looking at the fantasy football and you're actually like paying attention this year, you can see that guys like Matt Ryan, Russell Wilson are all going after the 8th round.
And we're talking 10-team leagues.
Yes.
So I said earlier, Kyler Murray is going as like the 13th quarterback. if I get Kyler Murray as my starter, that's fine. And then if it winds up that he sucks out the gate, there's going to be, in a 10-team league, there's going to be good quarterbacks on the waiver wire.
People drop quarterbacks left and right,
Yeah,
too.
so
if quarterback is not a position, you don't, number one, I think it's stupid for anyone to draft 2 quarterbacks.
I'm not, I said once people start drafting
Yeah.
2, I'll get mine because people do that.
Yeah.
I'm not drafting 2 quarterbacks.
And some people want to have Mahomes, and they also want to have Matt Ryan. I get that. 'cause they wanna have the-
Maybe if you're the guy that drafts Andrew Luck, you want to have like a Lamar Jackson as your backup. I'm just not going to be that guy.
I just look at it as if you get a quarterback before the 8th round, I think you're usually pushing it. Just like I said, you want more depth at receiver and running back than you want a quarterback.
It's much easier to find a quarterback on the waiver wire than it is to find a running back or a receiver.
The average points in quarterback between number 1 and like number 10 are like not even 5 points apart.
You can find if you know football, and obviously if you're playing fantasy football and you pay good money and take it seriously, you know football. You can find a quarterback with what you know and what the matchups are. You can stream one that'll get you 18 points. And if the person that you're playing against has Aaron Rodgers and gets 25 points, you'll take that 7-point difference and make up for it with the running back that you drafted in the 3rd round.
Yes, it's because instead of going in the 3rd round with Patrick Mahomes and then now your second best receiver is Marvin Jones, you could have Adam Thielen and find a quarterback down the road and Russell Wilson or something. I just don't think that I don't think you need to jump on quarterbacks before the 8th round. I just think any time before the 8th round, it's a little too early for that.
So am I up?
Yes, you are.
I have 3 so far. I have Nick Chubb, Todd Gurley, and Kerryon Johnson. So I'm going to look at best available, but I kind of have to grab a receiver at this point.
Who are your receivers that are available?
I'm going to check it out right now. I don't want to go, as much as I want to take the running backs, I don't want to go too long without getting my number 1 receiver. What the hell am I looking at right now?
Go up.
Let me see. Best available receivers. Okay, here we go. So I still have Stephon Diggs, Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods, Julian Edelman, Chris Godwin, Kenny Galladay, Tyler Lockett. Out of those guys, I'm going to take a little bit further down than what the experts on this thing would say. I'm going to take Galladay.
There we go.
And somehow, I'm saying I'm not a Lions homer, but I'm winding up with Kerryon Johnson and Kenny Galladay. My only logic behind that is Diggs has Thielen to compete with for targets. Cooks has Woods. Actually, I don't know. If you had Edelman or Galladay, what do you think you would do there?
Edelman's off the injury list now, so he's allowed to be
I think he's fine. Yeah,
he's
Edelman's
fine. Who all do you have available? See, now between Diggs and Cooks, I would go Diggs and Cooks for those two, but I love Galladay, so I understand your love on. I understand the Galladay take on that one. To be honest,
I'm going to take Edelman just because I don't want to have too many Lions. I'm just going to be honest. I think having just one. That's one of the offenses I think that's not going to be able to support multiple guys.
Yeah.
So I would feel more comfortable taking the Patriots' number 1 receiver, whether you think it's James White or Edelman. I'll take Edelman over Galladay. And then Baker pops up here.
Stretch, who are you coming for in the comeback? Because I'm seeing what you have available.
I think I have 5th round pick 6, so I think I'm ahead of Stretch. No, am I in, or is he?
You're the 6th pick? Oh yeah, then you're technically ahead of
Yeah. So I
Stretch.
see Baker Mayfield here, and I would love to have Baker on my team, but I still just think it's too early. Like, he could wind up as like the number 1 quarterback, and it would be so fun to root for. But I'm just gonna have to stick with like what I said was my draft strategy. So I'm gonna look for another receiver.
Did you say that? Because I'm looking at Jarvis Landry.
I like Jarvis a lot.
I have Mike Williams, DJ Moore. We're getting into the point where we have to talk about AJ Green and Josh Gordon. But picking my number 2 receiver, I don't want either one of those guys. That kind of like makes me nervous. So I'm gonna go with. I don't really love a ton of these guys. I have Mike Williams, DJ Moore, Calvin Ridley, Alshon Jeffrey, Tyler Boyd, Allen Robinson.
At least Boyd, will be the go-to guy.
Yeah,
there's no one else to throw to over there. I'm not saying, but Calvin Ridley has looked really good last year as a rookie. Let's see how he looks his second year. I don't hate Calvin Ridley.
I actually know who I'm going to pick, and I want to wind up having this guy in at least one of my fantasy teams. Instead of picking my 2nd receiver, I'm going to take my 4th running back. I'm going to take Josh Jacobs. And I think
Josh Jacobs, I like that.
I think he has potential to be like a top 10 running back. I think they're going to use him a lot. It's weird if you've watched Hard Knocks, you have not even heard his name one time.
No, but Hard Knocks is, I mean.
No, it's just curious.
Yeah.
But everything they've said in the media with Oakland, they literally said, I want to have Josh Jacobs be in the candidacy for Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year. Which, you can take whatever you want from what people are saying, but I think I want to have him on at least one of my teams.
How many picks do you have in Stretch?
I just made my 5th.
What's your 5th pick? All right, your 5th pick. See, I agree with Jarvis Landry as the 5th pick. That's what I'm leaning towards on mine, just because with having Odell there, I feel like if they have Jarvis, it's going to be almost like to that effect that where you need a guy to consistently catch 10-yard passes, move the chains, get the receptions, like he was in Miami, leading the league in receptions or getting targets.
We are doing PPR too. So
I do have that would be my next pick would be Jarvis Landry.
So when he gets his 200 catches for 100 yards, you're still going to get the point.
You know what? Like I said, Jarvis Landry will be my ad, and on the and not jumping ahead too far, but on the comeback with that now, when it comes to I'd be looking at now we're going from receiver because I just put another receiver. I'm looking into running backs now. Guy who I picked for Rookie of the Year, who I think will be a great offensive player, is going to be David Montgomery from Chicago. I think he's going to be a very solid back. They're talking about he's going to be the leading
Jordan
cowbell.
Howard rule, but better.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like he can catch the ball, he'll run the ball. Chicago's got a solid offensive line. They have a good, they will be looking to move the ball through moving on a shorter routes on this and that and moving through screens and stuff. I like David Montgomery to be on my ad with that, so I will take David Montgomery on the comeback with that. I know it's a bit of a stretch. A lot of people probably look at it. But having a David Montgomery with the Todd Gurley and James Conner, I think would be a good help to have another running back who is the leading back. You want to have as many leading backs on your fantasy team as possible. You don't want to have cups, you don't want to have this, and you want to have solid leading backs too.
So none of us have picked a quarterback so far, right?
No, it's 7th round. I'm not looking at anybody yet.
We're into...
I saw more running backs and receivers to grab up, man.
I think Stretch got Kittle, right?
Yes.
So that's the only tight end picked. So we're sticking with that strategy. Whether you agree with it or not, there's different ways to win a league.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
We're just not going to, I think any of us are not going to be the people that, Kittle is a good pick. We're just not going to be the people that pick the quarterback. It'll be interesting to see who the first quarterback that any of us pick is. Is it on me or is it on Stretch?
It's going to be on Stretch now because I just picked. My 2 picks. So
yeah, I've got 5 guys so far.
So my guys are now Todd Gurley 1st round, James Conner 2nd round, Thielen 3rd round, Cooper 4th round, Jarvis 5th round, David Montgomery 6th round.
I think at the end, is there a way, Stretch, that we can put all of our teams up and you can pick who had the best team? They can vote on Traveling Drunks or whatever.
Well, we could probably just take a picture of it and put it as a poll.
Screenshots, yeah. So maybe we'll do that and you guys can vote who has the best team or whatever. But yeah, he has 6, I have 5, so I think it's on Stretch
right
right
now.
now.
My friend.
Will.
I like Mike Williams.
Yeah, I just want to. I like that. Yeah, I like that pick just because whenever he scores, you can say Mike Will made it. It's almost worth the pick just for that. Edwin just joined. What up, Big Chuck? I used to beat him in Oklahoma drills in high school.
Oh, get him, get him.
No, he definitely used to destroy me. He was pretty good. If I remember right, he was like a left tackle. So Stretch has his up now. He's got Todd Gurley, Nick Chubb, Mike Will made it. All right. So, but the only thing, Stretch is kind of doing the strategy of building out your entire team, but he has no other bench players so far.
Well, when you go Kittle, I understand where I said I'm not going tight ends that early, but if you go a tight end that early and his name is Kittle, like we said, Ertz, or Kelsey, you're all in your rights right there. That just makes sense.
If you have George Kittle on your team, do you have to name your team Taste the Rainbow, or is that?
My team's always victory formation, and there's a backing behind that.
I'm the wobbly weasel.
My
the
team.
Reception desk. What is that?
I want to hear your story, and before I go into why I named my team, because you're the reception desk. I got to understand what's going on the reception desk.
You know what a reception desk is,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Yeah, a bunch of good wide receivers.
Yes, okay. See, now mine is more of a kind of a joke. It's my picture's always Colin Kaepernick in the black on black uniform, afro taking a knee, and my team's name is Victory Formation. And I like it because it's just it brings it out. People, I love the icon. It's the icon black on black. It's the afro. It's like, here we go, let's go. And you're typically going to get upset with it, and then you get upset when you lose to it too. It just makes it the double whammy on that one.
So Rob and I both still need one receiver slot to fill. Is it me up?
I have my receiver slots filled.
Okay, so I have one less pick than you guys, right? I have 5.
Yeah, you should be coming in getting 6 right now.
All right, so I will see what running backs are available.
Because you'll be going up next again.
Yeah, and see, Chris Carson, I just love running backs. There's just a lot of running backs I love, so I'm going to see what receivers are available. DJ Moore I like from Carolina. It's getting, okay, so maybe we should take this time to talk about A.J. Green and Josh Gordon. Because A.J. Green, for me, was the 29th ranked receiver, and he's off the board.
Yeah, I'm going to see where A.J. went in mine, actually, now that I look at that.
So A.J. Green or Josh Gordon compared to like a guy like Chris Carson, who I think is going to be really good. And I'm going to wind up with like 10 running backs.
A.J. Green went first pick in the 5th round for me.
He went 9th pick, 5th round for me.
Now, and back to my theory on trades and why I believe in trades, because guys in this late in the draft, like a Josh Gordon, you have people that love names, and they get overhyped with names before they actually get with like players, you know. And the reason why I'm kind of big on like telling people, yeah, go get you a Josh Gordon if you like trading, just because people eventually Josh Gordon will get thrown to.
I just don't like the idea of drafting somebody with the hopes of trading them, because then if you're not able to trade them, then you're stuck with somebody who you wanted to trade.
You work around it. I mean, in my opinion, just like I said, my first 4 picks are most valuable picks, and after that, I work around everything else.
Yeah, fair enough.
I don't look at my 8th pick all year. Do I want him to? Yes, but realistically, is he going to be?
It's not like you're drafting them to trade them.
Yes.
But if you don't trade them, you'll be happy keeping them. But
if I could pair off a Adam Thielen with a Josh Gordon and go find another running back potentially, then it works out that for me on that way. You know, if I can find myself maybe a Kerryon Johnson if he's having a better year, or even or a Marlon Mack.
So that's where you fall, like on AJ Green and Josh Gordon. Like at what point? I mean, all right. So between those two guys,
I wouldn't draft AJ this year.
I mean, but so they're saying it was a 68-week injury, but they're saying, and I understand, I'm just playing devil's advocate, that he's going to be out 1 or 2 weeks, and then maybe he rehabs and he gets. But if he's healthy by like week 4 or 5, you're getting like a top 5 receiver in like whatever round we're in, the 6th round.
My
6th round.
theory on Cincinnati is if let's say he's not healthy till like week 6 or 7, and the team's 2-5, is AJ Green really going to play that much? And if he does he really need to play that much?
Yeah.
He knows his career.
No,
he knows the game. He knows he's already been paid.
I was just trying to play the other side of it.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying.
I don't think he's going to wind up in any of my teams because I've had that Doug Baldwin thing last year going into that.
Yes.
And there's nothing worse than like, do I start questionable Doug Baldwin or like a guy who might actually get me points? And you don't want to be dealing with that. It's just, I was just like, at what point do you get value for it?
That's more of a risk than I think Todd Gurley is going in the first round, where we picked up Todd Gurley, just because, like I said, yeah, he may miss 1 or 2 games, but AJ, this is an issue that he's had before. So let's say the issue continues. The Bengals aren't this premier team that are going to go out there and win 10, 11 games this year.
They also said, like, when they were doing the ankle surgery, they found other stuff.
Yes,
and I'm like, well, that doesn't sound good.
He's got scar tissue because he's had multiple ankles.
Yeah, it's well, that doesn't sound good.
It does. It just
for a guy that's that big and that physical.
It just doesn't seem like this is going to be a match that I want to get involved. Like you said, it's not a drama I want to get involved with.
A common theme. I hope he has
Dalvin Cook last year.
I hope he has a good season, but it's not going to be for my team.
Or like Leonard Fournette last year when he was going late first round for some people with the injuries, and you're playing the advocate. Is his hamstring going to get better? Are they contending? They end up not contending, so he doesn't play nearly as much.
The thing for Josh Gordon is a much different thing because it's not injury related.
No.
He's completely cleared, and he's going to be, what would you say, the Patriots' second best receiver? I mean, talent-wise, he's better than Edelman. But is it going to be a week 4 where
he may be better to like if we were to have a combine,
right.
Yeah, he's better.
Right.
But if we're playing the game, I think Edelman's better. And that system.
It's just he led the league in receiving 1 year with like 12 games.
But I was in high school when that happened, dude. It's 2012, man.
It's just one of those guys where it's so hard to like deny the talent.
I know we're saying that he did, but that was a long time ago when he did that. Like that's my thing, you know. We look back and think, oh, that's 2012, 2013. It's not long. That's 6, 7 years.
Right.
You
but
know?
he also hasn't been playing football, so he's not like banged up or anything.
Why he's allowed to play is beyond. I hate to get that off track, but
it's
with Randy Gregory looming his trying to fight off his, but this guy hasn't passed a drug test since 2013.
What did the NFL look at and say? Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, like what drug test has he passed?
What did they look at and say like, okay, we should give this guy a 10th chance?
They looked at the Patriots offense. They're like, God, the best receiver is Edelman. We can't do that to Tom.
If you draft him where I'm at now, and it's like this late, and he winds up being my 2nd or 3rd receiver, and he winds up being like a top 10 receiver,
Yeah,
that's not out of the question.
He's at mine, and I think these are a little off-dated with Josh Gordon because now he's fully back on. People are going to draft Josh Gordon earlier than what this is projecting because I have him available in the 7th round. I think he may go a couple rounds earlier than that.
I'm here in the middle of the 6th, and he's available.
Okay, so in my 7th round, it's showing he's available still. I don't think he will be, to be honest with you. And to be honest,
And you know, there's so many Patriots fans that
Yes.
somebody in your league is going to take Josh Gordon too
and there's
early.
so many people that, like you said, that bring up that he once led the league in receiving. People will bring that up.
I'm taking Chris Carson.
Okay.
But there's going to be a Patriots fan in your league that takes Josh Gordon too early, and you're not going to have to worry about it. And there's going to be some guy in your league that takes Tom Brady, and he shouldn't even be like a top 10.
No.
In a 10-team league, Brady almost shouldn't even be drafted. I mean, maybe as like a backup or something, but he's one of those guys like Phillip Rivers, awesome player, Hall of Fame player, but not a great. It's like the opposite of Jameis Winston, an awesome fantasy player, a shitty real life player.
Yeah. Stretch, who's your next guy up? I believe you're up.
It's a little out there, but I'm going with Philip Lindsay.
See, I like that pick. I was a big advocate on getting Philip Lindsay this year on my team. I want Philip Lindsay on as many teams I can just because he caught 35 balls out of the backfield last year while getting 1,000 yards rushing. So he showed some versatility, and he also didn't start right away either.
Can we talk about why are people so low on Philip Lindsay after he was like a big waiver wire pickup last year? He did really well. Somebody in my 16-team league, we do free. We can discuss this too, just real quick, not to get off track. It's still fantasy related, but are you more of a waiver wire guy, inverse order of standings, or do you like free agent acquisition budget where you have to bid on?
I like standings because it does. I think it does.
I like the fab budget so much better.
I like the standings just because it does give. Because I like it because it gives those guys who have a horrible first 3 weeks to maybe find it and pick it up to keep it at least somewhat competitive for like.
It does suck when it's the same guy that's in last place
Yeah, that's
every
the
week,
thing, and
then he picks up it's like.
And it's like you see that, and then you know what?
I feel like it gives more strategy to the free agent acquisition budget because Philip Lindsay triggered my memory of somebody last year spent we have a $100 budget in my 16-team league. Somebody spent $80 on Philip Lindsay.
That's wow.
And everybody was like, wow, that's way too much. And then he wound up being like a top 15, top 10 running back.
With my pick coming in, I'm right now. I just played Montgomery last pick, so you know what, I am stacked up on there with the running backs. But I do like to. I like to consistently add with my running backs still.
I like the second one from the bottom.
I'm seeing James White is available in the 7th round, and I'm going James White because if I'm thinking of any, like, and we're going to go on about this, and we're talking about receivers in that New England team. James White may be arguably the best receiver from that team.
Best or second best, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's arguably up there.
It's not crazy to say he could catch 100 balls.
No, it's not. And when you look at it, I'm really looking at it fully, and I'm like, for me to have James White, Montgomery, Connor, and Gurley, that's what I'm talking about with the depth of the running back position. Let's say Gurley's knee isn't working well. Well, you know, there's something I can plug in with either David or James White, plugging them in. And on the comeback, we're looking at, you know, guys who we're looking into and who's around. And again, I did go on saying how much I did like Philip Lindsay. I am a Philip Lindsay guy. And I will be looking at, you know, still getting a Philip Lindsay in that so I can have more running backs to have and choose from. Because like I said, when you're playing on a weekly basis, you're going to also look at matchups. Some matchups will be better than others. My next 2 picks are going to be 2 running backs. I'm getting Philip Lindsay as well after just getting James White. So my running back pool is pretty much completed at this point, I feel more of, where I have the James Conner, I have Todd Gurley, I have Dave Montgomery, James White, now Philip Lindsay. I am kind of running back heavy, but I play this to be very running back heavy because it's harder to find good running backs than it is to find good receivers.
For me, I have no choice. I have to almost not even look at the running backs available because I have 1 wide receiver slot that's not filled, and my bench is 3 or 4 running backs.
Yeah.
So Josh Gordon, I mean, he's available at this point, but I still have Jarvis Landry available too.
I go Jarvis, man.
Marvin Jones?
I'd still go Jarvis just because, like, I mean, our take that
we
had
are
on
talking PPR too.
Yeah, the take we had on Jarvis earlier, man. If you have Odell Beckham now there with Nick Chubb and now Baker, they're looking. Baker likes quick routes. He does not like. They like to move the ball quickly. He can get the ball in and out of his hands very quickly.
We are getting
Jarvis is great for that.
We are getting to this point of we're in team's second receivers, but I do have Elshon Jeffrey available, who would be like the Eagles' #1 receiver. Unless you consider Ertz, right?
Yes.
I think if we're going PPR, I would go with Jarvis Landry. I don't love him, but he is a PPR machine. So I'll take Jarvis. And then I'm going to wind up with my receivers being Julian Edelman and Jarvis Landry, which, I mean, if we're talking PPR,
When you're talking PPR, that's solid.
good.
That's very consistent. Like I said, you're going to find these guys getting their targets.
those aren't the names that Julio and DeAndre Hopkins and those guys are, but we're talking PPR.
But look at your running back list.
Your
Your running back list does make up for the fact that you don't have those two. When you have those two guys, both offenses move on. Let's get the ball out of the quarterback's hands very quickly on short intermediate routes.
So far I would have Nick Chubb, Todd Gurley, Julian Edelman, Jarvis Landry. My flex would probably be either Kerryon Johnson, Josh Jacobs, or Chris Carson, depending on matchup.
We can skip Stretch. Stretch, you go ahead. Stretch, you make your pick up, man. How many do you have? Because I think he went right before you.
Yeah, I might have.
I have 7 so far.
Yeah, so go ahead and pick.
Yeah, I have 7 as well. So I think
Pick, and then it'll be Marty, then you.
still nobody's picked a quarterback. Cam's still available. Drew Brees still available.
Russell Wilson's still available in my 9th round right now.
Yeah, he got taken for me in my. Russell Wilson went 7th round, 4th pick.
I had Cam Newton go in the 8th round.
I still got Josh Gordon available.
I know, yeah, it's crazy, right? It's
that's same here, man.
At what point do you have to take Josh Gordon?
Not now.
I'd be much more comfortable if I'm taking Josh Gordon as a flex or a bench guy, and I wait to see how does he do in week 1 or 2.
Yeah, no, I'm with you
He's
there.
still available for me as well.
He'd be my 4th receiver, actually.
I mean, that's not.
Yeah,
I mean,
same here, and I'm not against him being my 4th receiver.
AJ Green went far ahead for all of us, ahead of Josh Gordon, which.
And his name has carried a lot of weight with that too. And I'm not taking away from AJ, but it's like it's a guy that we're looking at that we're almost damn near guaranteeing he's going to do this and that, and we have no idea what's going to happen with AJ this season. I don't know if AJ's really going to play much this year, to be honest with you.
One of them's healthy and the other one just had surgery.
Yeah,
You have to look at that at some point.
Dede Westbrook I like because I do like Nick Foles with Dede.
Yeah, but
I like Dede and Nick together.
I think for the upside, though, I mean, you still have Baker Mayfield as your quarterback instead of Nick Foles.
Who are you looking at right now?
He said between Dede Westbrook and Josh Gordon, right? Josh Gordon, if you're going a bench guy, I think you got to go upside.
Josh Gordon upside.
I think Josh Gordon has more upside than Josh Gordon could be a top 10 wide receiver. Dede Westbrook, I don't think has any chance of being a top 10 wide receiver.
Definitely has high side.
Yeah. I do think Dede has more of an opportunity to play the full season, though.
Agreed.
And that's kind of what it comes.
But we're only saying that because you could fail a drug test at any point.
But I mean, that's still a factor into this.
No, it's
though.
relevant.
Like, that's a huge
It's
factor.
relevant.
Like,
But I mean, is he going to get reinstated again?
he'll be the first guy to get suspended off a secondhand smooth. I mean, like the guy just like.
You know, if people don't know, once you fail drug tests as much as he has, you get tested like every fucking week.
And you get tested for alcohol too.
Yeah, you get tested all the time.
You get tested for a lot. It's no longer just the weed and stuff. Like he failed a drug test from coming back.
If you had to make a bet, even
breath.
money, Patriots win the Super Bowl or Josh Gordon plays 16 games, which is more likely?
Patriots win the Super Bowl.
That's.
Josh Gordon playing 16 games.
But at what point do you have to take him? This is madness.
Well, I'm looking at Stretch. Who are you deciding to go with? Well, Dede, I like the Dede pick.
Christian Kirk, Marvin Jones are still there for me.
Well, you already got Galladay, so.
Yeah, no, I didn't wind up taking.
Marvin Jones being in that list could be a solid one. Like, say he was a 1,000-yard receiver at one point too.
I do these bets that I love to do for my site that I can do is player to score the first touchdown.
Yeah.
And Marvin Jones is like an MVP for me, who has won me so much
Really?
money. For the Lions, player to score first touchdown, Marvin Jones has. And I know I love Kenny Galladay, but Marvin Jones has won me that bet so many times.
You know what? Marvin Jones, go out there. He's a great option for you to pick up. And what you're in the 9th round?
No, right now I'm 8th round, pick 5.
Okay.
Where are you at?
I just got in the 9th round.
Okay, so you're 9, so it's me. So, all right. So I still have Cam Newton available. I think I need another receiver just in case one of my if Josh Gordon's there, I'll be the one to take him. Fuck it. One of us has to do it. I'm gonna take Josh Gordon.
See, I was gonna do the same thing, to be honest with you.
There's other guys I like, but like I said, at this point, there's one guy who has a chance to either play 2 games and get suspended, or 33% of experts agree.
Oh, you're an expert.
So it's got to be a good pick. There's one guy that has a chance to be a top 10 receiver that's going this late, and it's Josh Gordon.
And my next pick coming up here, I'm doing the same thing with Josh Gordon. I'm looking at him, and
It's at this point that maybe you can pick him.
Yes, and I believe the 9th round is a better opportunity taking him. What they're trying to point out to me in the 10th round, because I don't have a tight end, is they're trying to point me into the direction of getting a tight end or a quarterback. My big issue with that is I'm looking at the receiver pool, and when I look at the receiver pool, Emmanuel Sanders is still available in the 10th round. Emmanuel Sanders, I still think, he may not have to start for me right away, but because he's coming off injury, but another 3 or 4 weeks into the season, he starts catching full swing. I like what Emmanuel Sanders could bring to the table on there. Now,
our last thing and the last time we'll talk about Josh Gordon, just to put a fine point on it, is I don't think it's going to wind up mattering for any of us because some Patriots fan is going to take him in like the 6th or 7th round.
Easily, yes.
He's not. This is all simulated. He's not going to be there this late when we actually draft. If he is, take him. But I think a Patriots fan in your league, which out of 10 people, it's guaranteed someone's a Patriots fan, is going to wind up taking him too early, and you don't have to worry about it.
My 10th round, I don't believe, and I understand I just said Emmanuel Sanders. I'm going to go Jared Cook because I don't believe Jared Cook will be there in the 11th. I like Jared Cook in New Orleans. I love that ad. I just love the fact that Drew Brees, who throws the tight ends, has a receiving tight end to throw to and a go-to big guy. And these, like you saw how Jared Cook looked great in Oakland. He looked good with Aaron. I see him in New Orleans still going through the same thing.
But didn't we think that about Jimmy Graham, who's still there?
Yeah, but Jimmy Graham, when he was with New Orleans,
I feel like
but these are two different guys.
I feel like Jared Cook, everywhere he's gone,
he's played well at least everywhere he's gone.
Everybody has had Jared Cook on their fantasy team at some point.
Yes.
I feel like I've always been disappointed.
I've never really been disappointed in Jared Cook, to be honest. Even last year.
Maybe I got him in the weeks you didn't.
I'll just be honest with Jared Cook. Even when he was in Oakland, like I said, you're looking at him in Oakland. He was putting up good solid numbers in Oakland as a tight end, especially in the 10th round. Who else am I going to go with? David Njoku or whatever? There's just Austin Hoopers. There's not many tight ends you can go with that. So I believe it would be. So I went Jared Cook on that one. Do I regret it a little bit? A little bit because I'm not going to.
Already?
No, not that I regret it. It's just I want Emmanuel Sanders a lot this year. But I do need a solid tight end that I believe I can trust on. I believe not going too early on tight end, Jared Cook will be your later tight end you could look at for that value-wise.
And this site, we're not plugging or anything, we don't get anything from it, but it's actually a really good site from what I see. It has position tracker. It shows how many teams have quarterbacks, 9 out of 10. I'm the only one that doesn't. It shows positionally how many players have been drafted at how many starting positions. No defenses so far, so that actually seems to track. You don't want to ever. Somebody in the league is going to be like a Bears fan, maybe that. It's just insane to me. I had the
Jaguar fans get them kind of early too.
I had the ESPN the aggregate rankings written down, and it had Bears defense 54th overall, and I wrote next to it LOL. It's like, yeah, fuck that. It has Greg Zuerlein going like 74th. So that's kind of insane. So still none of us have a quarterback.
No, that'll be.
Cam Newton's still left though. So at this point, we should have talked more about Andrew Luck. It's kind of passed by now.
He's not going to play in week 1. That is what's being said. That so far it looks like he will not be playing week 1.
Where did he go though? It's kind of like.
That's a good question.
Where did Andrew Luck go in your guys' league? He went. I think 72nd? No, that's not where he went, right?
Andrew Luck won the 7th round, 5th pick for me. Which, when you start looking at the 7th round, so you start looking at the 7th round, Baker Mayfield was there, Andrew Luck, Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, 8th round, Cam Newton
He went
goes
for
in.
me 6th round, 1st pick.
Okay.
And then after that was like Darius Geis, Chris Carson, who I picked. I would rather have either one of those guys. Baker Mayfield going after Andrew Luck is weird at this point. It's like Baker is a guy who people are picking for MVP possibly. Andrew Luck might not start the season. Like we've all had those fantasy seasons like I had with Doug Baldwin last year. Guys,
I had it with Dalvin last year.
Everyone's had those guys, and it's like, do you want to have to worry about any? I'd rather just not worry about any of my players. And if he does well on another team, so be it.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be the guy that has to worry about it all season.
I'm completely with you on that one. I'd rather just be able to come into the season more comfortable, not have to think, okay, how am I going to get rid of this guy, or how am I going to work around this guy for the next 4 or 5 weeks?
And and like we said, none of us are drafting 2 quarterbacks,
No.
so you don't want to have to draft Andrew Luck and then waste another roster spot.
Yes, It's like, to me, having 2 tight ends, unless you're getting Kittle and like Jared Cook, then and you are, because there have been weeks where I've played that flex position where I played a Jared Cook in that tight end spot, just because, okay, you know he's going to get the targets, you know that those are some possibilities, and that's only happened because I had Kittle last year, was missing a receiver who was hurt. So
I'll be honest too. Going into some more overall strategy, there are leagues where you're not required to pick all the positions.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of picking a kicker and a defense, you can just pick 2 extra running backs or receivers, and then cut one of them or drop one of them, and then pick up a defense or kicker before the season, because it stretches out the time before you see if someone gets hurt or if you want to add somebody else on or whatever else you want to do. So I think, am I up?
Yes, you're up.
I have right now 9th round, 6th pick. And right now at this point, my strategy is just going best running back or receiver, whoever's available, because I have pretty much everything filled out.
I will be going quarterback with my next round.
Yeah, I mean, I have Cam Newton available. I have Sammy Watkins, who's like been far passed by. Sterling Shepard, who's hurt, obviously.
Sammy Watkins is not a bad 12th, 13th round guy, just because the upside is not too much to bite on. You know what I mean?
At some point, guys get value.
Yes,
if
exactly.
Everyone's passing on them. Looks so bad, but I'm taking Marvin Jones.
It's not bad, dude. I think it's a solid guy, honestly.
No, I just said I'm not a Lions homer, and I'm not. But now I have Kerryon Johnson and Marvin Jones, and I almost wanted to draft Galladay too. The Lions guys, the guys who they do have who are fantasy relevant are going to be good.
I agree with that.
Galladay, Jones, and Kerryon Johnson are going to be good. Whether you think the Lions are good or not doesn't matter. Those guys are going to be fantasy relevant.
I agree with that 100%.
DK Metcalf just went. N'Keal Harry. Those are like early 10th round picks. Sterling Shepard. So we're getting into the point now where you're kind of taking risks on guys.
Stretch, where are you looking at for what you in the stretch? You in what round are you in? 10th? 9th. All right, go ahead. Stretch. You got the next 2 picks.
Chase said Austin Eckler.
I like Austin Eckler.
I had Eckler, and for him going this late, like I had him in a 16-team league last year. I was like the MVP of drafting backup running backs, and I had Eckler. Even when Melvin Gordon was starting, Eckler had value.
Eckler's a great receiving running back, and they'll switch more to he won't run between the tackles a bunch, but he will catch balls out the backfield.
And then say if Melvin Gordon does get traded or if he doesn't play, like, yeah.
And and I think of all the guys who are in a holdout and a legit holdout, I think the legit holdout is actually Melvin Gordon.
Yeah, Zeke,
and that's the only legit holdout
because
there
this
really
is last
is.
year.
Yeah.
Zeke has multiple years left. Like,
two contract-controlled years as well as 3 franchise tags up to on that. So it's just, I see Melvin Gordon, and he's at home waiting on a call. I don't think Melvin's going to come into camp in shape right away, number one. And I also think that Eckler should get some good reps in the beginning of the season, see where he looks at.
And like I said, when Melvin Gordon did play, he still had it was a 16-team league, granted, but he still had fantasy relevance.
Oh, no, Austin Eckler still had some, especially towards the end of the year when Melvin got hurt.
Especially if we're talking PPR.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. When Melvin got hurt at the end of the year, Eckler really took over there. And I understand we're not talking about he took over as a premier back, but when I'm talking about fantasy football, he was a great back to have as an option.
So you said, so now Stretch
has the next 2 picks, I
yeah,
believe.
Stretch is 10-3. I'm 10-4 right now. So I think it's Stretch. Or no, it might be me and then Stretch. I'm still doing my same strategy. I'm going best running back or receiver available. Rashad Penny is still there. And I think since I grabbed Chris Carson, I might just grab Rashad Penny, just in case. Carson has that injury history. So just to be safe, I'll grab him. Why not? And then I think Stretch is next. Oh, well, we could take this time to talk about Kareem Hunt, because I just saw him pass by.
Oh, where did he pass by for you?
Kareem Hunt. So this is like a more realistic, I think, depiction than the ESPN or the Yahoo rankings, because the Bears defense went 11th round, first pick. That's not as insane. Like, I'm never going to be that guy that picks him. Mm-hmm. But Kareem Hunt went 10th round, 10th pick. So end of the 10th. Guys who went ahead of him, Adrian Peterson, D.D. Westbrook, Larry Fitzgerald, Curtis Samuel.
All guys that should be going ahead of him.
Right. But so Kareem Hunt needs to be talked about, I think, at least. Like, at what point would you take him?
He's still available in the 11th round for me here.
For me, it's never.
Yeah, Kareem Hunt's a very, very late guy, and like I told you, I would only have him for if a team's like 2-4 or like 3-5, and it's the week before the deadline trade.
Hail Mary,
a Hail Mary trade for somebody. Maybe you can grab
Is he out 8 weeks or 10?
He's out 10.
So
no,
fantasy's what?
He may be out 8 weeks.
So fantasy's 13, right?
Yeah, he's out the first 8 weeks. It's 14 weeks fantasy.
And you're talking about a guy coming back. If Nick Chubb is having like an MVP type season, they're not just going to give Kareem Hunt all of his carries.
But they, I do believe that he just does. If you have him within the 12th, 13th round range where you can still get him. Just because you can make that Hail Mary for, let's say you have a receiver goes down, you just need a consistent receiver. You can find a quality consistent receiver. And
what's more likely, Nick Chubb wins MVP or Kareem Hunt finishes the season on the Browns?
Kareem Hunt finishes the season on the Browns.
You think so?
Yeah, dude. I don't see Nick Chubb winning MVP. I don't see if there's any running back winning MVP, it's going to be the one in Dallas. And
that offense, though, the Browns offense?
No, their offensive line is average.
That's another reason not to draft Melvin Gordon. He has a
terrible
offensive line.
The Chargers' offensive line is a very shaky offensive line, and also
their only good player is
Gordon. My big problem with Melvin Gordon this too is he's only had like one 1,000 rushing yard season. Like,
he's awesome, but
he's just not like...
He's the case for college players getting paid because his best years in his career were in college, and then he's been hurt in the NFL. Like,
that's because he can't handle playing with big boys. That's
played against Big Ten defenses.
Yeah,
all they do is run the ball.
Stop. Big Ten defense and NFL defense. Let's not even compare. That's not even like funny to talk about. And a Big Ten
Ohio State doesn't have good defensive line. Michigan doesn't have good defensive line. Wisconsin doesn't have good defensive line.
No.
Those are all defensive lines that have first-round picks.
They're slow as dog shit. Are you kidding me?
I'm talking about defensive line. All those defensive...
I don't care, defensive line, whatever. Defensive line in the NFL is faster, stronger, bigger. It's the best of the best. These guys are not playing against NFL players. They're playing...
Where did Rashawn Gary go?
These guys are
Where
lucky.
did the Bosas go?
These guys are lucky.
Where did J.J. Watt go?
You're acting like all of them are on the same team at the same time. They're not.
No, they're all in the same conference.
Okay, I understand you're saying that.
That's who Melvin Gordon was.
No.
Against
You're
J.J. Watt,
nitpicking. You're strongly nitpicking against. Oh well, yeah. That's like saying SEC guys can see defenses every year in the NFL. They don't. These guys do not deserve to get paid. Or they're not at their best in college. They're not even physically at their best. A male doesn't mature until he's like 24 physically.
A normal male.
Hey, this man is at his physical prime right now.
Leonard Fournette was a man when he was like 17.
He's also 30. Like, come on. Like, he's 30. Like,
you have the Ibaka thing with him?
Oh, God, yeah, I do. Oh, God, yeah, I do.
All right, if you want to laugh, look up Leonard Fournette's, what is it, not the Rise, or whatever the thing is. He has a bald head. He has a bald head and a beard when he was like 17.
Yes.
So if you want to bolster your argument like that, Leonard Fournette was a man when he was 17.
I'm just
He's
saying,
more
like,
of a man than I am now.
Melvin in the NFL has taken a lot of wear and tear. He's had some sparks where he looks good, and I figured this would be the year. I think Melvin should be playing so he can get paid for next season. Just play because he is going to get paid decently, and he's not going to pay amazing, obviously, but he's going to get paid, and he needs to play this year so he can prove that. I hate to say it, he hasn't had the resume like Saquon Barkley will have a better resume within 2-3 more years than Melvin will have in his first 3 years.
What conference did he play in?
And I understand you're bringing up the Big Ten, but I'm not trying to say you're like these guys see 2-3 guys in the NFL on a defense. These guys, like, that's if you're playing Ohio State with
we're
with
getting
Lattimore,
off track,
with
but
Bosa.
if you want to compare SEC running backs to Big Ten,
that's a whole nother. So I'm not
backs.
comparing those two. I'm just saying in general, none of these guys.
You don't think though that college running backs are at their best when they're in college?
Physically, they're just not. Physically, they're not.
Nowadays?
No, yeah, nowadays they're physically not. Like
but they come in and Saquon's already one of the best running backs. Zeke comes in, he's already one of the best running backs.
But they've also gotten bigger, faster, and stronger as they've gone. Like Saquon's gone a lot.
I think Zeke looked the same in college. I think Saquon looked the same in college.
Saquon's definitely gotten stronger. He's gotten a lot more physical since he's entered the NFL.
I don't think he can get stronger.
Oh, he has. I mean, I'm just telling you, as a person, you're not maturing at 18 and 19 years old physically.
For normal
fully.
people.
Normal or not, these guys are not physically maturing at 18.
They're also not
old.
normal though.
They're also not physically. It's just not. They're not. These guys, if they were physically maturing, they would not make the NFL by that time, and they'd be washed out.
But that would mean that when they come in their first year, like most of these guys come out after their third year at college, they'd still be in college in their rookie year.
Okay, it's just like any other sport though. Like in baseball, these young rookies coming out and swinging the bat left and right, and they're hitting home runs.
In baseball,
there's no film on these guys.
In baseball,
wait till you put
they
the
don't
film
start
on
until after 4 years after they're out of high school.
Okay, that's not always true.
It's mostly always true.
Okay, the big premier guys, no. The Acuñas is playing at 19. The Mike Trout's playing at 19. The Harper's playing. I mean,
yeah, but
the
you're
premier
naming
guys.
You're naming like the top.
And you're naming the top
but
guys.
But there's more players in baseball than there are
I'm just talking about from a physical maturation. For the fact that these
But
guys
you don't need to be
have
as physically mature in baseball as you do in football.
You definitely have to be in the NFL, though. And that's my big difference
That's what
in the
I just.
NFL.
You don't have to be physically. Kyler Murray could have played baseball 4 years ago.
Ooh.
I mean, maybe not. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but like.
Ooh. He's a
Sorry, yeah. What were we talking about? Fantasy football.
hard on that one. We got into a full bar conversation there. But
LeBron better than Jordan.
I'll agree.
I'm going with Sanders.
See, the Emmanuel Sanders pick, the one I wanted, I went Jared Cook over. I like Emmanuel Sanders. Like I said, I think he's going to have a solid season coming
I
back.
thought you said you were picking a quarterback.
Well, no, I'm waiting for you guys to pick so I can go in my round because I'm going quarterback.
I'm at 11th round, third pick. Where are you?
I'm in the 11th round right now. So
I'm before you, I think.
yes, you are.
I still need to pick a tight end or best available running back or receiver.
Oh, there we go. Best available.
Tight ends are. I still have Jared Cook, Vance McDonald, David Njoku, Eric Ebron. Never be
What
on
do
my
you mean
team
about Vance
ever,
McDonald?
ever.
He's getting a lot of quiet conversation for later. in the
He's
draft.
ranked 8th. I will not be picking Eric Ebron ever.
That's your boy.
Yes.
Yes.
Where's TJ Hawkinson? I'd be more likely to pick him.
Noah Font?
I don't see him listed here either. He's not even in the top 20.
Damn. Well, I guess that first round was spent.
I am going to go with. All right. I don't know. Do I want to do this? Yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm taking Kyler Murray.
Okay. See, you picked the quarterback before I did. I went Russell Wilson in the 11th round.
This is just a thing where I wouldn't mind having this guy on my team. 17% of experts agree, so it has to be a good pick.
I believe that the experts like you for some reason.
I just want to root for this guy. I want it to be fun. I want it to be awesome.
I'm with you there though because the fact that if it works,
if it's my
it
league where I'm
works.
paying $300, maybe I'm not doing the same thing.
But the thing is with him is that I think the high side of him is like extremely freaking high. I mean, if it works, it's going to be a very good. It's going to work out really well. Now I just went. I went Russell Wilson in the 11th. Coming in this on the comeback now, I'm going to go someone who I've talked about, who I believe a lot in for this Pittsburgh Steelers. James Washington, the second-year receiver. This was my sleeper I was talking about.
Yeah,
12th round guy.
they've been saying that it was between him and Moncrief to get the second job, and they said Moncrief won it. But the Steelers, I think, the way they pass is an offense that can support 3 receivers.
Mm-hmm. And with him, he's
No
made a
tight
lot
end, not really any
He's
tight
made
end
a lot
right
of
now.
downfield plays, and he's just looked better this preseason. And I understand my look on preseason is I don't care what Antonio Brown does in the preseason. I do care what James Washington and guys like Michael Gallup do in the preseason.
Of course, yeah.
Because you want to see, okay, where's that like Kenny Galladay last
People
year?
have been talking about Michael Gallup doing awesome this preseason.
And that's
too.
the big thing. You're talking about these guys. Where's the jump going to come and when's it going to come?
And when we get to this point, we're talking about guys, if you're doing our philosophy where we're not picking second quarterbacks, second tight ends.
Yeah.
We're taking shots on guys where if they hit, it winds up being awesome. Like if you're in a keeper league, maybe you wind up getting a keeper with a Christian Kirk in a 12th round.
Yes.
Where you get like last year a Patrick Mahomes in like a 10th round. We're talking about guys right now where if you hit on them, you're not trying to pick your second tight end or quarterback. You're getting guys who are going to maybe win you your league if you get a James Conner in like a 10th round.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly.
And that's why we all have the same strategy, I feel like. We're picking guys who, if they hit, they have like low floors, but if they have their high ceilings.
And when you're picking this late in the draft, that's the point. You're looking for the potential high ceiling.
It's your last guy who you might even cut before the season starts.
Yes, I mean, when you're in the 13th round, you can't. I don't believe it's worth sweating over and freaking out over. Oh my God, I didn't play him all year.
I'd rather take what you just took in James Washington.
Yes.
In upside than a guy like who they have here, Deshaun Jackson. I know what he is. Mm-hmm. He's not going to surprise me and be like.
He'll have 3 or 4 weeks where he'll probably have 20
But he'll probably
points.
be on my bench.
Yes,
and then I'll
exactly.
start him next week and he won't do shit.
Mm-hmm. Versus James, if Juju goes down, or if someone goes down, or if something happens in that Pittsburgh offense, I just think, like you said, like we've talked about, guys, there are some like Christian Kirk could be a potential, even though he didn't get a target from Kyler last game.
You want to take guys at this point. This is a perfect thing that they brought up Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah.
You want to take guys like Washington because they have a high ceiling. Mm-hmm. Deshaun Jackson. What's the point of Deshaun Jackson being on your bench? So you can get mad when he has like the 15-point game?
Yes, exactly. When he has 3 touchdowns
No,
week 1
we
or
know
something.
what he is.
Mm-hmm.
There's no point in drafting Deshaun Jackson at this point. I don't need a guy to fill in a bye week. I want a guy like James Washington, where if something happens, like you said, he becomes a number one receiver.
I agree.
And am I the only one that picked a quarterback so far?
I picked a quarterback. I got Russell Wilson as well.
Drew Brees for me still available. Jameis
Drew
Winston.
Brees is available late in a lot of these drafts. A lot of people believe in this fall that Drew Brees is going to fall apart this year.
They didn't just pay Michael Thomas number one receiver money for no reason.
That's the thing. I don't
gonna have a good
understand.
season.
Here's the thing with Drew Brees, and everyone's going to say, oh, he looked bad. People are trying to kill his end of the year, but I'm like, you know what? He just wasn't the Drew Brees of the 7. He wasn't the 7-9 Drew Brees where he's throwing for 5,000 yards and throwing for 30, 40 touchdowns. He's now a different quarterback. He's moving the ball. He's efficient, and they're winning games. He looks just fine. I don't think if Drew Brees is available in the 12th round, you don't get him. I think it's crazy. I think that's absolutely crazy. If you don't have a quarterback that is. I don't believe in 2 quarterback systems. But if you're in the 12th round and someone like a Kirk Cousins or someone like a Drew Brees is available, I think you should do it because I'm over here looking at this in the 13 and the.
And I only picked Kyler Murray because I'm excited. I want to see how the offense is. It's fun.
You've been a.
If I get Cam Newton in the 12th round, second pick, like he's going in mine, I'm fine with Cam Newton. Cam Newton. Would you be surprised if he was MVP this year?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And it's no knock on him. It's just because I just don't know if it's going to keep. Like he just had another rotator surgery. Is my big reason why.
If he stays healthy,
that's the thing.
He has a chance to be MVP.
It's the constant. Okay, we're going to change his throwing motion, but then it's going to feel so unnatural by week 4. He's going to go back to his original throwing motion.
What do you think about Jared Goff for MVP this year?
Jared Goff, I think Jared Goff. I mean, we last week both picked them to not win the division. I think that's the team to miss the playoffs, and I think if they miss the playoffs, it's not because of the offense. It's because that defense just gets beat down, and maybe someone else in that division gets a little bit better. But Jared Goff winning MVP, I don't think it's too far off because he does have the options to make it work.
So who's up right now? I have 12th round, pick 5.
I went in the. It's not me because I had that double pick.
What do you have, Stretch?
I'm 7th and 11th. So it's me?
Yeah.
Russell Wilson.
There we go.
All right.
I went Russell in the 11th as well.
All right. So if this guy's available, I really like him. If this is the last guy on my bench, I'll be super happy. Duke Johnson.
I like that to Houston.
Yep. Got traded from the Browns. I think the only person ahead of him, and he's never going to be like the bell cow running back.
No.
But if we're talking PPR and we're talking the only guy he's behind in Houston is a guy who gets injured every
Lamar
single
Miller,
year,
yeah.
like fucking clockwork.
That's an offensive line that's going to need a lot of help as well.
Yep. That's fine, but Deshaun Watson,
But he's
DeAndre Hopkins.
having
opening
him
things
stretching
up.
out on screens and having just going out and throwing the ball. Like I said, that's a guy that when we're talking about garbage time, that's a guy that you could be looking at down the road, especially if Lamar does get hurt and he's the only one to have. He can get you a solid 10, 12 points on a bad week, I think.
It's kind of imbalanced because so far on my team I have 2, 4, 5. I have 7 running backs and 4 receivers. I'm fine with that because I can always change it up. I can always drop somebody. But I'm looking at Duke Johnson, Rashad Penny, Chris Carson, Josh Jacobs, Kerryon Johnson, Todd Gurley, and Nick Chubb.
Okay, see, I
have no problem with any of those running backs.
Stretch, how many running backs do you have? See, I have, it looks like I have 5. I have Todd Gurley, James Conner, David Montgomery, James White, and Phillip Lindsay are my 5.
I think 4 to 7 is not a crazy ratio.
No, and like I said, depth at that position is very, especially the running back position, is very important to have. If you don't have depth at the running back, it can be a tough time.
Other than Stretch, I think for our last 3 picks is going to be tight end, defense, kicker, right?
I am not going to. I already got a tight end earlier, so I'll probably look.
Oh, you got Jared Cook, yeah.
Yeah, I'll probably going to maybe best available. I'm going to go best available between receiver and running back, and then go defense kicker.
So that actually helps out as far as the podcast goes. So my last 3 picks are tight end, defense, kicker. And I'm still looking at guys like Austin Hooper, Delaney Walker, Trey Burton, Jordan Reed, Mark Andrews, Greg Olsen. I mean, all these kind of guys. Who do you think out of those guys? I kind of like Austin Hooper.
I like Austin Hooper as well. I like him more than Delaney, especially because it's hard to rely on Delaney Walker.
Delaney Walker's
man.
that guy who you pick every year, and he's like, everything just goes.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stretch said he hates. Everyone hates Delaney. It's like I picked Delaney Walker. If everything goes right, Delaney Walker's gonna be awesome.
Delaney Walker's a tough one. It's a very tough
Austin
one.
Hooper, I'm picking the tight end for the Falcons. Oh wow, 46% of experts agree. That's good.
I love how sarcastic you are with the experts.
I appreciate that. But as far as now all the defenses go, but for Austin Hooper, I'm getting the last tight end in the draft, theoretically out of a 10-team league, and I'm getting a tight end in an offense that throws the shit out of the ball.
Yes.
And now we're getting back down to defenses and kickers, and at that point, for me, it's just streaming.
Yeah,
Like I have enough confidence that I can know which matchups are going to be good, and I just want my defense not to get 0.
and I start looking into this now, and where I need to start looking, I do want one.
Greg
more.
Zuerlein is still available. I can get Greg Zuerlein right now if I wanted.
Ooh.
If anybody picks Greg Zuerlein, like other than the second to last or last pick,
Oh my God, yes.
I think I'll take him. I don't know. Somebody usually does something stupid by this point and takes him. Yeah, I'll take Greg Zuerlein. Or actually, would I rather have Greg Zuerlein or any of these defenses? Texans, Browns, Saints, or Broncos?
What do the experts say?
They say the Texans,
It's time.
but they're talking about trading Clowney.
Yeah, that's a big question there too, because who are you going to get in return for Clowney? I mean,
Not somebody on defense, probably.
no, probably a bunch of draft
Probably
picks.
like a third-round pick.
Or I did say I think Jadeveon Clowney's going to go to the Redskins for Trent Williams. I think both make too much sense. You have Trent Williams.
That would be a
premier
great trade for both teams.
Exactly. They need a left tackle over there in Houston.
And Trent Williams doesn't want to play for the Redskins.
No, and also the Redskins. The Redskins love celebrity pass rushers.
I heard
that's
that,
their thing.
I heard that the Redskins gave the money to Adrian Peterson because he's such a good friend of Trent Williams. And then Trent Williams still said he didn't want to play there. I'm like, whoop, that kind of backfired. You're giving a backup running back $4 million.
Well then, didn't really pan out the way.
Yikes.
Didn't really pan out the way they wanted.
You know, I'm gonna go Greg Zuerlein. I feel like he's kind of matchup proof, and I have confidence in my knowledge that I can stream a defense. 0% of experts agree. Carlos Hyde just went. Delaney Walker, Damian Harris. Paris Campbell for Indy. So who'd you guys got as your kickers?
When it comes to kicker, I do go best available on
This
that.
is where everyone logs off right now.
Oh, usually, yeah. Usually.
Everyone already exited the draft.
You guys have left.
Everybody
I have
already.
3 picks left.
Why are we talking about kickers?
Go
I
ahead.
I just want to finish out the draft and see our grades.
What are you up with, Stretch?
I'll go with Duke Johnson.
Duke Johnson, great ad.
And then I still get the Broncos defense.
Why are we talking about kickers? There's 3
Stretch,
picks
pick one.
left.
Stretch, pick one more, because you're above me.
I got a C+.
78. Okay, keep yours, because we're gonna screenshot it through these. These are the way to screenshot the teams.
How do we screenshot it to make a poll? You can do that?
Yeah, I got you. Just for you, Michael Gatt.
Yeah, that's what I like to
He's
hear.
still available? That's a good pick.
That's a great fucking pick, dude.
Who's your
Wow.
defense, though?
I don't have a defense.
Oh, geez, Stretch. You got to get a defense.
All right, so me.
Who's your kicker?
Relax.
I got Legatron.
2 picks left. Relax.
I think I got a little ahead of myself.
2 picks left. Relax.
Relax.
Get that. Okay, now when it comes to the kicker and defense and everything, we're gonna look at to this.
Clip of the week should just be this. Kicker and defense talk.
Kicker and
This is
defense
the highlight of what we did.
4 picks left. We're talking about kickers?
I picked Tucker.
Put
for
the
my
put the
kicker, man.
caption up like who should be the #1 fantasy player, and then just make it this: kickers and defense. This is a troll. Just a Rick roll.
I picked Tucker as my kicker because Baltimore struggles to score touchdowns. They're going to rely on field goals, especially with guys that can kick 50-yard field
It's so
goals.
funny that you say that because I do the same logic that you have.
Oh, dude.
I'm
whoa,
like-
whoa, what the fuck?
Uh-oh.
Well, that's great. It picked up.
We gotta redo it now.
That's stupid. Anyways, I was going to pick a defense. For some reason, it wouldn't let me pick a defense. That's a little frustrating right now.
Oh, I wouldn't have picked one if I knew I didn't have to.
Okay, good. Let me. Okay, thank you. Jesus Christ. I was starting
New England's always solid.
I hate New England's defense.
You hate them?
Their defense, only because
They
you
just
never
held the
know.
Rams to 13 points.
Okay, that was in the Super Bowl. There's no fancy football.
Oh, just the Super Bowl.
Well, there's no fancy football in the Super Bowl. Oh, there we go.
You can always find fantasy football.
All right. So there's mine. Now I can have my defense. I went Dallas. with my
Cowboys defense.
Cowboys defense.
You went back
man.
for that?
Hey, man. Well, it gave me Benny Snell Jr.
They just re-signed Jalen Smith, so.
And see, there we go. Our defense will be premier this year. Just wait on it.
Premier, I don't know what that means, but it sounds
Top
good.
5.
Oh, okay.
Top 5.
Top 5. If your defense is top 5, your offense only has to be like 15.
Well, we made the playoffs with our offense being like 23rd last year.
That was my response.
It's a respectful one. I agree with it. I mean, that's how I felt the first 6 weeks of the year watching the Cowboys offense. I was like, great.
Torn and Billy left. They ran out of money.
Mason Crosby. Remember the
Stretch is really pouring over this kicker pick right now. Just go with the expert, Stretch. I think we should cut out the draft grade. Yeah, I got a C+ too. I think we should cut out the draft grade because that's going to influence the voters.
So basically, the experts like me more.
Just put the teams. Just put the teams and don't put anyone's name next to it because everyone's going to pick Stretch. Can we all share it to the same thing though?
I'm thinking if we could show it to each other to a group of them.
Well, this is where I get happy about my draft. It's not that I was amazing or anything, but I like it as a whole.
Did we all wind up with Todd Gurley?
We did. Todd Gurley first, Connor second, Thielen third, Cooper fourth. Well, we got Jarvis fifth, Montgomery sixth, James White seventh, Lindsey eighth, Josh Gordon ninth, Jared Cook 10th, Russell Wilson 11th, James Washington 12th, Tyrell Williams 13th, and then it went to Justin Tucker and the Dallas Cowboys defense. I can't be too upset with that. In fact, I think this is the team that if I had, what I would look to do is immediately trade one of my receivers to find another running back. I would trade a Phillip Lindsay with a Adam Thielen to find a premier running back if I needed to.
Are we still on right now? Sorry, I was just looking at something.
Basically, the
Bless you.
experts say that we were all pretty much very close together.
Yeah.
The experts all think they can do better.
I mean, if you want to get an A, you just do what the experts say every time. I
yeah,
feel
like that's the kind of thing. Like,
It's
yeah,
dumb.
do I really want to pick like Inua as a receiver? No,
Yeah,
I don't.
I don't
He plays
really
for the Jets.
give a
I
shit
don't
about
want a
your
Jets
grade.
receiver. I don't want Robbie Anderson.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you stuck with us to this point through the kicker and defense talk, good luck in all of your fantasy drafts, unless you're against me.
Definitely need to update you guys on the fact that when we look at it right now, the New York Yankees do have the best record in baseball. So there's a fun fact for you guys.
Good point to end. Probably 15 seconds to go. No, I'm just fucking with you. Thank you guys so much for watching Analytically Correct. This was the fantasy show. Yeah, I know, every time.
Almost.
Well, this is starting this Saturday. College football, Gators and Hurricanes. Do you want to do a quick pick on that?
Go Canes.
You got Canes? I mean, I think the Gators are going to win. I don't really give a shit other than the fact that I can bet on football that actually
There
counts.
we go, and actually feel strongly about it.
Actually, people who are trying.
Yeah.
Thank you to the Niners last night. I got $25
Jimmy
off of
G,
that,
I
so.
appreciate the comedy. I love laughing at you playing quarterback.
Thank you guys so much. College football is starting, and there's no better league than Bundesliga. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.